Hello everyone, my name is Jalen Johnston, and today we'll be talking about the Lest We Forget project. I'm your host today. We're going to be talking about Charles Darwin. So I know everybody's talked about Charles Darwin at one point in their life, whether it was biology, history. I know I talked about him my freshman and sophomore year, but today we're going to go in a little more detail. So, that man, we had to pick a book between the 1800s, Charles Darwin, great guy to choose. So he's got a book called The Story of Darwin, Ideas and How It Changed Everything. So that book is written by Hand Stranger. She got a 4.5 out of 5-star rating on Amazon, which is quite significant. I read the book, I really enjoyed it, and I hope others would go out there, read it, and really enjoy it. Darwin really changed people's ideas on what he discovered. You know, he discovered Darwinism, how survival of the fittest. He did not discover that humans are from apes. He said that humans are not descendants from apes, but they have similarities. People got it confused. People hated him for that. But we'll go into more detail now. So his date of birth, starting off with his early life, his date of birth was February 28th, 1809. So he was 8 years old when his mom passed away with illnesses. His dad was a doctor and automatically enrolled him and his brother into medical school. And when Charles went there, he just couldn't stand it, hated it. He said school basically was a blur. I got a quote from him. He says, the school was as a means of education purposes was just a blank. Like, I don't blame him. As a kid, when your mom just passed away and you have to go, your dad's kind of forcing you to be a doctor when you don't want to. Who wants to do that? That was at 9, so he ends up going back home. Dad's like, you know what, you gotta go back to school. You're 16. You're 16 now, we gotta go back into school. So he went to go study medicine and dissect rats. He lasted 2 years there. But when he lasted 2 years, he's like, you know what, I'm done. Didn't even finish graduating. His brother ended up graduating. His dad was so disappointed in him. He went to school for 2 years and just to say, I'm done. I don't want to be a doctor. He couldn't stand dissecting rats. Couldn't stand studying or anything like that. But he met this man named Robert Grant, who was a professor at that college, and Grant let Darwin travel with him. So when he went to travel with him, he brought up the idea of the evolution of species. And when he got that, Darwin was really intrigued. They got to go on trips with him, but Darwin never got to do that very often. So he thought that was the coolest thing ever. So when Darwin dropped out, they kind of lost connection and everything. So then, after he met him, years later, he went to Christ College and met Stephen Henslow. Stephen Henslow had a boat where he was traveling to South America to look and discover into evolution and what we know as today Darwinism. So he went in there, and they really traveled all over the place. They traveled to Spain, or they came out from Spain, South America. South America was the biggest hit. So when they went to South America, they stopped in the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands, many know today, has got one of the rarest species on the world. It's very inhabited by very cool species such as birds, finches, lizards, and all sorts. Well, when Darwin got there, he met this man that is like a co-worker kind of guy. His name was John Gould. John Gould was a great man. John Gould was helping, he met Darwin, and he was a big fan of Darwin. He wanted to come along and be like, hey man, we got the same ideas, let's work together, let's work together here. And Darwin's like, okay, all right. And these were the decisions that made him who he is today. If he didn't go on that boat trip, we wouldn't know who Darwin is today at all. Darwin was super significant in our life, completely. So they were studying, and they noticed that finches in the Galapagos Islands had really long and narrow beaks, but the ones across the sea in Asia and Africa were very narrow and shorter. Well, think about it. The way the planets used to fit for Pangea kind of makes sense now. Or the countries, I'm sorry. The countries come together and they meet like Pangea. Then the animals had to adapt to the food and species, or food and nutrition on that specific island, territory, and land. So the Galapagos birds had to adapt to getting their beaks into smaller areas and getting berries probably, while the finches in Africa and other places were looking for nuts where the beaks were shorter, harder, and could break the nuts. So on that trip, he was really studying zoology, and that's what really helped him pretty much. And zoology was big to Darwin. Why should Darwin be remembered? I think Darwin is one of the most significant humans of all time. He discovered Darwinism. He was way ahead of his time to discover natural selection. Natural selection is huge now. You look at animals making changes. Humans make changes to better themselves. He discovered this so long ago with zero technology. All he had was a book, and he looked at animals, skeletons, if that. That's it. He had no technology to discover any of this, which is quite amazing. I think he should be one of the top humans to be remembered of all time, and he does not get that credit. People hated him for this discovery because they believed, oh, you're talking about humans descended from apes. You know, humans did not descend from apes. He never said that. He never said that about evolution. He really didn't discover evolution. He basically said that, hey, humans and animals kind of have similarities. We probably just got similarities, you know, just this and that, but I never said they descended from them. We're just got similarities, and people got that twisted, especially in the churches. And he got a lot of hate when he first came out with that book. So he didn't want to come out with his first book and say that because he knew he was gonna get a lot of hate. Because he even knew when he said that, it didn't sound good. His knowledge was so advanced that we got to be super thankful for the guy. And so this is Jalen Johnston signing off. Thank y'all for coming to the Lest We Forget project. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.